Good morning. Hi, everybody. It's Tracy at TierraCast. I'm here with a demo for you this morning. We did say in our description of this live demo that it was going to be our last fall-themed demo, and that's probably true. There's another project that I was looking at from our woodland collection, and I was like, oh, it really would be fun to show that, though. But I will decide what I'm going to do. The alternative being for me to come up with a few more holiday-ish themed designs, before the holiday. I'm throwing a couple of links in the comments. They are the links for the two projects that I'm going to demo. Good morning, Donna. Nice to see you. Hi, Leslie. Nice to see you too. Throwing a couple of links into the comments that link to the projects that I'm going to demo. So when I posted about this demo last week, the necklace was not on the website yet, didn't have a downloadable project sheet yet, but it does now. So if you guys, use those, if you take advantage of those downloadable project sheets, they're there for both of them. Hi, Emily from rainy Alabama, Mobile, Alabama. Hi, Landa. So good to see you all. Thank you for popping in. No point in delaying. So I'm going to switch my camera and we'll get started on these two projects. Now, neither one of these projects is, this one looks very busy, but it's really a simple construction. So they're not complicated. I did do a little bit of advanced work for the necklace just because there's quite a bit of connecting, but we should be able to get through both things very easily today. Let me move this out of the way. And we're going to start with the earrings just because they're nice and easy. I did, and you guys, I'm assuming, that anybody who's spending time with me on a Tuesday morning, you guys are jewelry makers. You probably could manage these perfectly well on your own without me. But they're so sweet, and they're just so, I didn't want to just stop with the fall theme designs because we were through Thanksgiving weekend. I really wanted to be able to show these. And so I couldn't resist. I know they're simple, but the little acorns are so fun, and the new acorn bead caps, we just love those, and they're proving very popular. Both of these components, the leaf link and the acorn bead cap, are really selling very, very well. I should move this out of the way so the camera will focus actually on the earrings. And then with the original pair, of course, I use these little wooden, they're about 8 millimeters, probably closer to 9 actually. They're little wooden beads. And of course, those felt perfect for making little acorns. But I pulled out some other beads that I thought might be fun. I've got wooden beads in a few different colors. I got out some sparkly crystal, thought that might be fun to play with. There's a few gemstones and some check glass that I thought would be good. Now, one of the things that I thought would be interesting to touch on while we were demoing these is different size bead holes, because you can see that, for example, this little check glass bead, the color's not showing up absolutely great, but it's really a pretty kind of amber. Can't quite get the light on it to make you guys see how pretty that is. But it's got a large hole. It's maybe not quite a 2 millimeter, but darn close. So there's some little tricks you can do when you're designing, with large hole beads, to make them, one, not fall right off of a head pin, like for example, this is going to do. Go right through because the hole's too big. I need to move some of my stuff aside so that the cameras will focus on what I'm trying to show you guys and not all the other stuff on the map. 2 projects, so a lot of stuff. Okay, so with these two, the first thing we're going to do is I want to use a different color. I want to use a different color to make these, so I'm going to go with gold. And because I think that's still very fallish and very pretty. And I'm going to do both of them because I'm going to show you a couple different things with the different bead hole sizes. So we'll go with this pretty check glass bead with a large hole for this one. And we'll go with just I think the crystal for the second one, because I've been dying to do this with the crystal. I just hadn't done it. And the prettiest color I have is a 10 millimeter, but I think either these bead caps were designed to work well with 8 millimeter beads, but I also think that they'll work just nicely with 10 as well. I'm going to move my camera a tiny bit. And good morning to everybody who is still popping in. Okay, so large hole bead. There's a couple of things you can do for working with a large hole bead in a design like this. I don't want something very, very big that's going to be all that visible. So one solution to this large hole bead going onto a normal head pin is just a small little spacer. So I've got what we call our Kenyan spacers. They're about 4 millimeters wide. They're quite thin, maybe a millimeter, maybe a little more, and that will stop the bead from falling through. And it's not very obtrusive. It's kind of small and discreet. You hardly even see it. Now the bead, because of that large hole, is still going to wobble around on that head pin. So a great solution, very common one for that issue, is to just take some size 11 seed beads and string those onto your head pin, and those will go right, and actually size 11, maybe even, I've got cylinder beads here, and probably round ones would work better. The point is, you put some seed beads on that head pin and they go inside the hole and kind of take up that space so the bead is not quite so wobbly. So that's the point of the seed bead, and just choose one that's going to fit inside that bead hole. These little cylinder beads, like I was just saying, if I'd chosen round seed beads, they'd take up a little more of the space, but these seem to be working okay. This is definitely a case of use what you have to solve that little wobbly issue for the large hole bead. So then I've got I strung my little spacer, I strung my my bead, and I strung my bead cap. So that would just make a perfect little acorn right there. And then I'm going to take it all apart and show you guys another solution that you may not know about. And that is, we have a product called bead aligners. And I'm going to plop that into that link that goes to those products on our website. I'm going to put that in the comments. These are really fun, and I don't really think people know about them all that much. We created these a long time ago, many years. We did a line of products we designed around lampwork beads. So they were beads that have a large hole, and a very common mandrel for working with glass and making lampwork beads is 3/32 of an inch. So that's just a little bit, it's around 2 millimeters. So we created these, what we call bead aligners. They're almost like a spacer at the bottom, and they just have a normal, if I can just make it stop jumping around. They have a fairly normal sized hole, about 1 millimeter, a little over in this case. And then there's a peg on the other side, and that peg is just about 2 millimeters wide, and it's designed to fit right into, and this one's going to be a little bit tight. Yep, it's designed to fit right into the hole of a large hole bead, and then you can put that on a thinner stringing material, and it holds it in place. One, it keeps it from falling off the end, and two, it keeps it from wobbling around so much on this head pin. Now, I would possibly, depending on what I was designing, use another one on the other side. In this case, I'm not going to. Well, also, I want to use gold, not silver. Getting little beads all over the place already. So I'm going to take my head pin, and I'm going to take my bead aligner. These are very useful components. They're not flashy. They're very functional, and many people just don't know about them. Now, this bead is needs a little bit of help with the hole so that I can get that peg in there. You know, with glass beads, there really can be some variation. And in a perfect world, I would only sand that with a little bit of water. But, you know, in the demo world, sometimes you cut corners. Oh, Leslie is saying you can also use the bead aligners in bead weaving. And I'd be curious to know how, I want to see an example, Leslie. And Joyce is saying she loves them. Joyce owns a store called Just Beat It. Used to be a brick and mortar, and it wasn't very far from us. They closed the brick and mortar, but Just Beat It is still alive, and you can buy online, and they do lots of demos and fun stuff. And I think, Joyce, aren't you coming to visit me soon? They're only about an hour and a half away from us, and Joyce and I've been talking about her coming up and visiting. So I think that's going to be soon. And you better remind me so I'm prepared. So, okay, I've got my bead aligner on here. I did a little bit of filing in that hole just to make it fit down onto the peg a little better. And in some designs, I would put another bead aligner on the other side so that it wouldn't wobble. In this case, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to use that bead cap. So I'm just going to, the peg is going to keep it stable down there at the bottom end, but I'm going to throw a couple little seed beads in there just to help to keep it from wobbling up at the top. And then I'm going to put my bead cap on. And I think that makes a really pretty little acorn right there. This bead is also bigger than 8 millimeters. It's probably closer to 10. And that's all that you got to do to make your little, acorn. That's how I did the wooden beads, because some of them also have quite large holes, although they're not big enough for the bead aligners. So really just the seed beads are a good solution for that, a really thin seed bead. And on that original design, actually, I didn't use the beads, and I should have. So you can see down here, you can see the hole maybe. And it kind of shows because that bead is wobbling around on that head pin. If I had put seed beads on there, it wouldn't be wobbling around so much. But anyway, there's one of our acorns. And the second one, I'm going to use this big 10 millimeter beautiful crystal. So I won't need, it's got a small hole. I won't need to do any modification at all. So I'm not going to put anything at the bottom. I still could. In the original, I used these tiny itty bitty little bead caps. Also a good thing for keeping a bead falling off a head pin. So I used the little bead caps in the first design. I could take them or leave them in this one. I don't know. What do you guys think? Bead cap or no bead cap? Okay, Leslie's saying she uses the bead aligners the same as with wire work. She doesn't want the small beads inside your bead. She doesn't want to use small beads inside a larger hole bead, and it keeps everything stable on the thread. Oh, Joyce is saying she's coming to see us next week. Okay, we'll do some promotion, so you guys will find out about that. And maybe, I don't know, Joyce, are we going to do anything fun like a live stream or anything? Maybe. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to skip the bead cap on this one because I don't need it. It's a sweet accent, but I like the idea of just doing an acorn without that bottom visual element. So here we go. Just the bead and the head pin and the larger acorn cap. And I'm talking so much, guys. I don't know. I was saying, yeah, we'll have time to get through all of these, and I don't know. I seem to be blabbing a lot. All right, now we've got our little acorns made. This part of the process is super simple. Oh, look, I have one gold ear wire in my stash. Oh, well, I'll finish that later. All I need to do here for this part is use some very small oval jump rings to link those little leaf components together. And they are, excuse me, they're a front and a back kind of thing. The front is beautiful, what's the word, modeled. The leaves, they're very curved, they're very kind of dimensional, very pretty. And the link has 2 loops, of course, so you can attach from both sides. And then the back side is also dimensional. It's kind of curved like the inside of the leaf would be. So I love that detail about it. It's kind of a front and back, just like a leaf would be. But my point here, when I'm linking them together, is I want to pay attention to that. I want to make sure that I have apparently little tiny chain scraps in with my small jump rings. I want to pay attention to which direction my leaves are. All right, back that off. I'm messing it up for you guys already. Before I close this jump ring, I need to attach the second link. And this is where I need to pay attention to which direction it's facing and which direction the leaves are pointing. And then I just attach that to that first jump ring. And oh, look, I got it backwards. So one of the leaf links is rounded side of the leaves forward, and this one is the reverse. So let me switch that. I love these these are our smallest oval jump rings, and I love them for they're just very unobtrusive. When you use them in a design, they're just so tiny that they blend right in with the design. On the other hand, they're very tiny and sometimes tricky for me to work with. Okay, so this time I put the jump ring on and remembered to attach the second one, right? Let's see. All right. There's the 3 connected together. To finish it off, I'm just going to open the loop on the loop that I made on the acorn. And then I'm going to open the loop on an ear wire and attach that at the top. And here again, I want to make sure I'm attaching all the components so that they're going to hang forward. And there we go. There's one of them. I'll put the other one together later. I need to get myself some more ear wires. So, but that is how easy the construction of the little earrings are. I love it in gold. I love it with this brown crystal. It's going to be gorgeous. And of course, I think copper ones would make a real nice pair too. These do come in copper as well. And I will make a second one later. And you can have a lot of fun with the different types of beads. So now we're moving on to that in there. We're moving on to the necklace. Remember, you guys, if you have any questions, be sure and put them in the comments. If I don't get to them while we're demoing, I will get to them later, and I will answer your question. So with this necklace, I again used the linking the leaves together and used that as a chain. And I'm mixing the finishes in this one. I used the copper and the gold and the silver. This all these items come in our brass ox finish as well, but I stuck with the silver gold copper for this design. So I need 2 each of those bead caps. And I also need to decide which of these beads I'm going to use for this. And I think it would be a good idea to I'll use these with the bead aligners. When I make my second earring, I'll make it with the crystal. But for this, I'm going to go with the bead aligners. And I hope that I don't hang us up by making that choice with the bead holes needing filed. I'm just going to be proactive. So I am going to do the focal section first. That's going to be the fussiest part of it, I guess. I need to make all my little acorn dangles, and then I need to make little charm dangles. And for those, I'm using, we have had in our line for a long time these little oak leaf charms. They're a little opposed loop charm, meaning the loop is perpendicular to the plane of the charm instead of in line. That's fun because you can string it right onto something without using a jump ring. These have been in our product line for a very long time, and they're one of my favorite little charms. I actually use them, I don't know, kind of whenever I have the opportunity, I use those. So again, I'm gonna use the bead aligners with these ones. I'm gonna get this out of the way, put the necklace up here. That way we can still see it to refer to it, but maybe it won't be in the way too much. And I mixed the metal on these. So I'm doing 2 of the acorn drops in copper and 2 in silver and 2 in gold. You could certainly, you know, adapt this little focal section in this design. You could just use, you could streamline it and just use 3 of each so that your focal section is a little more centered, not quite so wide. You could, it might be pretty with just 1 acorn and the little charm dangle accenting it. And you could also make the focal section longer. Oops. I'm skipping the seed bead filler. I'm just going to count on the bead aligners to keep these beads stable enough. I think it will be fine. This wide acorn bead cap is going to cover up. You won't see if the hole's visible around the head pin. You're not going to see it because that's a nice big bead cap up there. All right, so now I got all 3 of them. I was talking about how Joyce had mentioned that she was just using, they demoed some, did you do a live demo with these? Joyce, they used the bead aligners with lampwork beads. That's exactly what we made them for. And it would be fun to watch that if it was a live demo. I'd love to. I'll go look at your social media page, see if I can find it. I'm doing my preferred way of making simple loops, but maybe I'll demo both. It's never bad to demo both of those techniques. With my preferred way, I just trim my wire off. I usually know, based on what I'm working with, how big I want those loops and kind of how long I need to trim the wire. So that's what I did for those. I trim it off and then I roll the loop. And then with the last 2, I'll show you the other way, which you guys all know, but I'll show it anyway. So there's all my little acorn components, or 4 of them. And then here's the ones that we'll do the other way. So in this simple loop technique, I'm going to leave the wire long, and I'm going to roll it around and then pull the tail up around the jaw of my round nose pliers. And so then there's my loop. And then I go in and trim that extra wire. The tricky part for me with this technique. And then you can go in and just straighten that loop up with the chain nose pliers. So both of those techniques work. Another round nose plier and simple and or wrapped loop technique that people use sometimes, if they're making a lot of wrapped loops and they know how big they want them to be, you can make a little Sharpie mark on your plier jaws, and that way you know right where to put your wire and all your loops will be consistent. Another simple loop round nose plier jaw trick. Okay, those guys are done. Now I want these little charm clusters are just our 19 gauge head pins. They're about 5.5 millimeter inside diameter. So they're roomy, but a little bit lightweight. And to make these charm clusters, this is where the opposed loop is nice. You can just string those right onto that jump ring and then close that up. And that's all there is to those little charm dangles. So I do want to pay attention to what order I'm stringing them. I guess this design really you could kind of string them in any order: silver, gold, copper, copper, silver, gold, whatever. You could do whatever you wanted because it's really like it's a very botanical and organic theme, right? So, but I'm fussy. I'm going to put them all on the same. Pay attention to which order I'm stringing them and do them all the same. And I need 6 of these, the same as the same. I want the same number as the little acorns. Oh, Joyce is saying, let's see. I'm scrolling with my eyes up the comments to see what I missed. Joyce is saying that she did that demo, or she was using that technique at the Whole Beach show in Oakland at the beginning of November, which I missed. I wasn't able to get down there, but Kirsten went down. So she was able to visit the beach show and hang out with beady people, which, you know, we haven't gotten to do all that much the last couple of years. So she had a good time. Okay, there's all my little dangles that go along with those are my charm dangles that go along with my acorn dangles. Now what those are attached to is some of our chain. This is kind of a lightweight chain. It's, let me see what that says, what the size of the, I'm bringing up, it's helpful that I put those links in there. I'm bringing up the link for the necklace so that I can look to get the details for this type of chain. I think the measurement of the chain links is about 5 by 6 millimeters. Yes, 5 by 6 millimeters, and it's quite 20 gauge, maybe even 22. It's not a very heavy chain. I want 2.5 inches for this center focal piece. And again, we were just talking about how you could modify this. So you could use shorter chain, a length of chain, or longer length of chain. Then you would just need to decide how to space out the components you're attaching to it. In the original design, I used 2.5 inches, which was 12 chain links. And that gave me, since I have 12 components, I was able to attach one component per link. So that was how I put those together. Now, because this is such a tiny little bit of chain to work with, I think I'm going to go ahead and attach my little chain segment at the end there. And that way I'll kind of have something to hold on to while I'm attaching all of the embellishment components. And I don't think that's not how I wrote the instructions. So I'm second guessing the order of operations in the instructions. So I may go in and make an alteration, but even if you didn't do this part right now, you could still proceed with the directions as written. So another thing to think about, I think I touched on it briefly, is paying attention to which direction you want the leaf tips to point when you're using these little links. So I want them all pointing down in the design, because interestingly, if they're pointing up, they look a little bit like angel wings, but that's not what I'm going for. I want them to be like falling leaves. So I'm making sure that the leaf tips are pointing down. And there's 9 of them. I'm attaching 9 links for that little bit of chain. Okay. So this is just a use the jump ring to connect things kind of process. So it's not very exciting, might even be a little bit tedious. I have nothing interesting to say about the process. So it might be a little quiet while I just get these all connected. I do hope everyone had a nice Thanksgiving. If you are indeed in the States and observed the Thanksgiving holiday last Thursday. You know, Canada's is different. Canada's is in October, I think. But I hope it was nice. You know, not everybody gets extra time off at Thanksgiving, but we closed the shop for the long weekend, so that is always really nice. I really appreciate that. So it was a nice long 4-day weekend for us. And the trouble with that particular long holiday weekend is that there's so much activity. It's not a restful long weekend. It's a busy long weekend. So it wasn't until Sunday that I felt like, oh, phew, don't really have to go anywhere or do anything today. That was great. You know, I don't know if you guys do this. It can be a helpful tip when you're working on a project that will have a lot of jump rings, is to open all of your jump rings in advance. Does anybody else do that? I didn't do it in this case, but just now on my very last jump ring, I thought of it. It really is, if you're going to be using a lot of jump rings in a project, opening them all up before you start is sometimes a good thing to do. That way they're not tangled and they're easy to get. They're easy to attach. I Are you an assembly type person when you can be? I think I understand your question, Marisol. And yeah, if there's a part of a process that just requires a lot of doing one particular thing in all the quantities, yeah, I like to do that, kind of get everything ready. So here I'm deciding which order I'm going to put the metal finishes. It does not have to be the same as the original one. And these clusters are all the same. So it doesn't matter which order I'm going to put those in. I'm going to use those tiny jump rings again to attach the charm clusters, and I'll just use the loop on the top of the acorn. I think I'll do the charm clusters first. So the trick there, this is going to be acorn. Remember I was talking about having 12 chain links. So I want acorn, leaf, charm cluster, acorn, charm cluster. Does that make sense? So so there's enough, it's a perfect amount of chain links for all these little components. And I'm just going to add the charm links for the charm clusters first. Oh, and here's the thing. So these are going to slide around. These charms are going to slide around on the jump ring, right? So they might change order before you get them on the charms might change finish order before you actually get them attached. You can worry about that or not worry about that. Two, three. I'm also making an effort to keep the chain straight and not let it get too twisted up so that I can try and put the clusters on the same side of the link. Does that make sense? How successful I'm going to be with that, I don't know. There's these great tools called chain stays. If you've ever used a chain stay, it's just a plastic kind of stand. It's got two upright sections that have clips at the top. And if you're working with chain, you can kind of suspend the chain with those clips. And it's a useful tool. I don't use it much these days, but especially when I was first making jewelry, I found those so useful. Now that I'm talking about that, I'm like, do they even make them anymore? Can you get a chain stay? Not actually sure. All right, so that's all the little charm dangles attached. And now the little, I did get them all in the same order except for this one. Do I want to change it? Yes, because I'm fussy like that. So I'm just flopping that silver, gold, and that copper. That silver, sorry, the gold charm and the copper charm over to the other side. That way, all of the leaf dangles are silver, copper, gold, silver, copper, gold. Mostly. There might be a little bit out of order here and there, but you know what? It's okay. All right, so now back to the acorn dangles. Those are going to go on the chain links that don't have the leaf dangles. You can see here that it starts getting very, it's getting busy. So it's a little harder to see what's going where. But still, it's moving along It's moving along quickly enough. I do like to do variations in the demo. And I suppose I could have come up with something different to do with this particular necklace, but I love the mixed metal. And so the only difference, I didn't really want to change it up that much. Honestly, I didn't give it that much thought. I just love the design as it is so much. I was like, it doesn't need a variation. Certainly an all one finish design would be pretty, like all copper or all gold or all silver. Certainly could be done. It would probably be very nice. I like that we're using, I love that the wood beads make such great acorns, but I love that we're mixing it up with the glass. And then of course the one other significant change with this one is just using those bead aligners instead of the little bead caps at the bottom. All right, is that everything? I think so. So we've got our leaf clusters. We've got our acorns. It's looking very nice, I think. The last thing we need to do is, with this design, I started with 11 inches of chain. So the finished length of the original is about 18 or 19 inches. So it's quite a short necklace, which for this design, I thought that was nice for it to sit kind of up on the upper part of the wearer's chest. But certainly it could be long as well. It could hang very long and have all these clusters just in a big cluster at the bottom. But in the original design, I did start with 11 inches of chain, and I took off 2.5 inches of that for our focal section. And then I'm just going to cut it in half for the two outside edges, or sections, I should say. So again, I'm going with my little oval jump rings. Put one at each end. Whoops, no, wait. First, I'm going to attach one end to each side at where the leaf chain is. You could also use a heavier chain. You could use other sizes of chains for sure. You would just need to, make your adjustments because there may be a different number of links for your center section. So you'll just need to make your adjustments to how you attach all of these components. We're going to need a toggle clasp, which I did not get one out. So let me grab one. And it's such a botanical little theme that I like the idea of a toggle in the same theme. So I'm getting out our littlest leaf charm. These components need a little love with a polishing cloth first, because they've been sitting in that drawer for who knows how many years, because I don't use this one very often. And it's been in our lineup for a long time. So who knows how old these little babies are. So attaching those is very simple. Jump ring at each end and attach the toggle components. On bracelets or with some designs where you need to make sure you're gonna be able to move the toggle bar well, you would want to use 2 or even more jump rings. But in this case, it's being attached to chains, so it's got plenty of movement. So you don't really need to do that when you're attaching them. Toggle bars to chains. So that's it. There is our necklace. Same as the first one, except for we used the pretty glass beads instead of the wooden ones. And then the crystal with the earring instead of the wood. I think that as long as it's about 1:45, so I got some minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and put together that second earring. And that way I can take some pictures after we're all done. You know, it's a variation. It's not that dramatic of a variation, but it is a variation. So I'll take some pictures and post those later today. And this little gold jump rings. Oh yeah, I need more ear wires too. Things are getting messy over here. You guys don't see the mess so much because the camera's only showing you this, but the rest of the work area can sometimes get a little messy. All right, wait. So the bottom chain piece, leaf link, I should say, I just attached that using the simple loop. Don't need to add a jump ring there. So there it is. All right. So this little ear, I don't know if you guys noticed this. This little ear wire is, you know, often I just use our plain what we call our regular loop ear wires, which look like, watch, I won't have one in here. Huh. You know, they have the larger loop that you attach. Here's one with a crystal on it. So our regular loop ear wires don't have any embellishment beads. They just end here at the bottom of the hoop with a simple loop. These ones we call our front loop ear wires. And so they're just a tiny bit shorter and a tiny bit more delicate. They're not ones I use as much, but they're really very pretty. So that's what I'm using. And I'm also noticing here, let's get that out of the way, that one of my leaf links is backwards. Flip that around. And so that front loop one, it just opens up right at the front. It's a tiny little loop and then closes up. It's a nice little ear wire. I don't use them nearly as much as the regular loops, but they're just a tiny bit more delicate, so it's kind of nice. So there we go. We have gold and crystal earring variations and glass large hole bead necklace variation. So that was nice to be able to use the bead aligners. They don't get used all that often in our designs. Kind of depends on what we're making a design with. So it's kind of fun to dig those out of the drawers and show you guys, tell you guys about them. And so I'll also when I do a variation picture and post it on social media, I'll add that to the project page as well. So, and I'll put in a little bit of detail about the bee liners. So that's it, guys. Thank you for joining me. Always nice to visit and chat with people while I'm making jewelry. You know, can't beat that. So, so thank you, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week and have a chance to make lots of wonderful stuff. And if you are new to, oh, Marisol is saying she has a new position at work and doesn't get to catch the lives very often. So Marisol, I'm glad you were able to be here. And I had another thought, but then I saw Marisol's comment and I forgot what it was. So, so thank you, you guys. Please have a great week. And if you try these, you know, anything I demo, if you try a variation, please share it with us, tag us, let us know you did that so we can enjoy it. And I hopefully will come up with something for next week and should post that. I'll post that on Friday afternoon. And have a great week, everyone. And I'll see you later. Bye.